Welcome back, listeners, to the Roanoker Presents From Print, a podcast. We had so much fun in our season finale segment with Bloom Restaurant and Wine Bar owner and executive chef Nathaniel Sloan that we decided to do it all over again. I'm happy to welcome him back to our first bonus episode of our second season, not only because he's a joy to chat with, but because I literally could not fit all my questions for him in one segment. Nate, thanks for being back here today.
Thanks, Liz. Happy to be back.
Absolutely. Welcome back to the show and for joining for a special bonus episode of our second season. It feels very official to say that.
Yeah.
So for those who might have missed the dining episode, which was our 12th episode of our first season, Bloom Restaurant and Wine Bar, located in the Wasena neighborhood of Roanoke City, is an award-winning spot for some pretty incredible meals both at dinner and brunch. Not only has Bloom won 49 dining awards from our readers since 2019, and we counted because I even skipped the 2020 dining award since we didn't have them that year, but Nate has also been featured in our 40 under 40 class of 2021, has opened up Creme Fraiche with partner Quincy Randolph, and given back to the community in so many ways that we talked a little bit about, and now we're here to continue that conversation. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
So running a restaurant obviously can be very challenging. And so I'm curious about, your challenges and successes that you've faced, both as a chef and a restaurant owner. So I'm wondering if you could share maybe overcoming a challenge. And I'm betting I'll know which one you'll pick, but...
Yeah, I mean, of course, the obvious one of COVID has been the most tumultuous time in the restaurant industry, I think, and that we all know of very much. So
because you opened in July of
2019,
and then 6 months later, everything went
the whole world flipped.
Yeah.
Which was, quite an experience.
What the heck went through your mind? Like when you realized it was a serious, this isn't just going to pass over in a couple of weeks.
At first, Wasena and Main Street just stopped. Mm-hmm. And so for the first day or two, it was almost surreal to be on Main Street with the cherry blossoms blowing and just nothing and no one being around. Mm-hmm. And it feeling like this whole former world as we knew it was never going to be the same. So at first that moment was surreal and was kind of meditative. And then the fear and the strike of reality hit.
Yeah, sheer panic.
And it was like, okay, so what next? And so our team at the time and we decided to mix it up every week, go to a different country, do different foods, try to portray the street foods of those countries and kind of take people around the world as we all stayed and enjoyed our time at home with our loved ones. Yeah,
you really pivoted into curbside to go pickup, which was brilliant on so many restaurants' parts, but on your part to immediately jump on that. I mean, you were one of the first ones to really do it and still be able to create unique menus, right? You weren't doing the same thing every single week, which was really interesting to bring people. I mean, I was one of the ones that would come back every week. I still think about your sticky rice. I just need you to make that every day for me. But it was great that you were able to pivot so quickly and to make that a success because people remembered you through all that. I mean, they said, we gotta check out this week because the menu's going to change. We got to know where we're going.
Yeah, we were really fortunate to have a really devout crew of supporters and friends and family and fans out there that really stood by us week after week after week after week. Thank you for being one of them as well.
You're welcome. It was really amazing to see and very inspiring because you were seeing people just sheer panic left and right, which is completely understandable.
Oh, yeah.
And then of course you have food costs and things like that. This is a domino effect that has not stopped even 4 years later. I mean, you're still dealing with some of those outcomes.
Yeah, costs just continue to rise for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it's important, I think, for you especially that you're sticking close to home for a lot of your ingredients because, you're still able to support your friends and partners on farms and things like that who are, part of our community and need some of that feedback.
Yeah, honestly, I will be completely transparent and say that the local food was one of the few markets that didn't see that just spike in outrageous pricing and availability shortages, and it was a blessing indeed that we were able to still buy local, nutritious, quality ingredients at affordable prices from people that we trusted and respected. And, I think that just shows the ultimate sustainability of that local food concept and just buying from your friends and neighbors and just supporting.
Yeah. Well, what a great success, especially with such a significant challenge. So I think that's amazing because there are a lot of restaurants who are not standing anymore, even after many, many years of being in. And you were open for all of 8 months before everything kind of shut down.
Yeah. And I think that probably also was an advantage that we had, that we were able to pivot and that we were still in our infancy stage of kind of still creating our branding and who we are and what we can do.
That's
and
interesting.
Supporting, the missions that we stand behind.
Yeah. And so there's another challenge coming up that I know about, only because they tore down the B&D comic store building, the old location.
What a landmark. Wow.
Yeah, what a landmark. And so, of course, we've known for a while it was supposed to happen around the pandemic.
Yeah.
Wasina Bridge is coming down. So what does that mean for you guys in terms of Wasina? Because again, that is right up against the buildings and the Greenway and all that, where there's going to be some traffic flow question marks for a lot of people who don't understand that the bridge is going to be closed.
Yeah, and I think that this bridge will be a little bit different than the Franklin Bridge too, because down at the Franklin side, you had alternative routes that weren't too far off the beaten path. Where Wasina, it's a bit of the heart of the city here. That road, Main Street rolls right through it, so it will be challenging at times in terms of traffic flow and all that. But honestly, we're going to party. We're going to have a great time. We're going to turn it into a thriving community that is even more of a destination than it is now, and we're going to really do our best to just continue to grow and continue to make it the best we can as a community, and be cognizant of the traffic concerns. But we're working with our great partners with the EDA and, of course, all the neighborhood community activists and supporters and partners of Wasina. We're all banding together to really try to make it the best we can.
You got through a pandemic. What's a bridge? Like,
right. Well, and ultimately it'll be for the benefit of the neighborhood.
Absolutely. It'll be awesome when it's done.
The kayak park too. That's going to be happening almost simultaneously in Wasina. So there's going to be a lot going on in Wasina for a few years, but ultimately it's going to make our little neighborhood even greater.
Yeah, I think that's, again, you're at the forefront of something just spectacular. So that's really great that you already kind of have a spot. I hear block parties might be in order. I hope that that's the case.
Oh, yeah. That's on the agenda. We'll see if we can work out the details.
I love it. Listeners, I've also been nagging Nate to do cooking classes. So at some point, I'm just going to invite myself into his kitchen and just start doing stuff.
So it's time to just put it on paper.
Yeah, exactly. So we actually barely scratched the surface of that first interview we did together, and we didn't even get to talk about another exciting portion of your restaurateur life, which is that you actually co-own and operate Creme Fraiche Roanoke. And so you and Quincy Randolph of R&D Coffee have worked really hard to start getting your dairy-free treats into other locations.
Yeah. So we opened a few summers ago as a dairy-free dip shop right on Main Street, and that was a lot of fun. Had a great team that summer. Yeah, total 90s throwback, little nod to hip-hop and that whole culture, and just things that mean a lot to us and are a part of our childhood and upbringing and just our history as people. So it's been great, and we've now partnered with, we're kind of taking more of a wholesale approach, and we've partnered with local businesses and restaurants, specifically the Benny Marconi's team. We're also in Golden Cactus and Crystal Spring, and the co-ops, and just a lot of really great local retailers around town where you can come and buy, be it pints or bars of our product.
Yeah, really and I like the branding. Those pops in the branding. The little
you gotta keep it fresh.
Super cute. Yeah,
sure.
Keep it fresh. My gosh. So thinking about, I don't know if you watch The Bear or things like that, but there are a lot of shows out there today that are talking about it's the hot thing to be a chef, to be a restaurateur. And so, without dipping too much into it, because you've got shows like The Bear, you've got reality competitions such as Chopped, your guys' grocery games, which coincidentally Quincy Randolph has,
that was great.
been on. And you've actually been on a cooking show too, down when you were in North Carolina, right? And
I was the chef down
Man
at the
Fire
farm.
Food Season 6 Episode 2 called Swine Dining. I'm curious about your experience in that TV realm.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a trip. They approached us about doing this episode, and I was the executive farm chef over at Hickory Nut Gap Farm, which is in Fairview, right outside of Asheville area. And of course, they raise their own meats, and they have heirloom apples, and they do summer camps and the fall festivities. It's a really great family run operation down there, and I would suggest checking it out if you're ever in the area. But they reached out to us, and they were like, "We want to do an episode, and we want to feature you all and your product, and let's do something fun." So we were like, "All right, let's do a cookout. Let's throw a porchetta on the spit outside, do some grits in the cauldron, and just kind of keep it southern and have some fun with it, have a dinner in the barn." And it was a really great experience.
Yeah, that's really cool. And, that's definitely sort of out of your realm because you're not in the kitchen cooking. You're in front of a camera. Did you get I don't know, did it give you the itch? Do you suddenly want to go do more reality cooking shows?
Well, being a chef by trade, it's kind of, you're used to kind of being behind the scenes. So there were some struggles and challenges to kind of muster up the courage to get on front of the camera, but the host was really great. He made it really comfortable, and the production team was there, and ultimately it just was a really fun day.
Cool. And so, David Chang talked a lot on his podcast and others in terms of speculating that because of shows like The Bear and its popularity, we're probably going to see some other kitchen-related shows in coming seasons
sure,
to come
yeah.
to TV. And so I was curious about your take. And I always wanted to ask you this question, but you're always working, so I can't ask you while you're working. But the romanticizing of the restaurant world and shows like The Bear, I'm curious about if that, like, does that hit close to home, or do you think it's like glorified?
Well, the first episodes were kind of traumatic for me. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, I'm trying to decompress right now, and now I'm
Yeah.
just kind of reliving a stressful day at work. But I do think there's some validity to a lot of it, but also I do think there's a bit of romanticism because working in restaurants is hard work. It takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to put out a product that you can stand behind and that you respect and you trust. And I do think that's a little bit of a false reality on some of the shows. Because a lot of it's smoke and mirrors, but there is a lot of validation in those shows that really get down to the ethics and the dirt of it. And honestly, Anthony Bourdain really paved the way for food and culture and food writing and travel and like that. So I would say it's going to be hard to top some of his stories and some of his experiences when it comes to truly portraying the world of food through the lens of a restaurateur or a chef.
But do you like get annoyed when people are like, isn't it just like The Bear? Like
Right.
it's so much harder.
Yeah.
It's even harder than what that TV show makes it out to be. And if you've seen the episodes, it stresses you out and it's a lot of work.
Right.
It's 10
Yeah.
times that in real life.
For sure, it is. It's hard work, but it's anything worth fighting for it's going to take some hard work to get there. So just believing in it and seeing the long-term picture and believing in the greater mission of providing great food for people. And if you get to put on a little bit of a show along the way, that's fun too.
There you go. Well, and I was thinking about this, so it kind of made me think about this seg, but when you were getting ready to open Bloom, you came back to local roots and you were bartending. Like you did serving and
shaking it up.
bartending. You really integrated yourself into every single role that plays a part in the restaurant, whether it's back of house or front of house. And I think that is so respectable because you really made sure you understood every nuance and facet of the roles that people have to play on your staff.
Well, that was an incredible experience. Yeah. For the local roots team to have me back for a little while and to be a part of that and to learn from Chad and Brian and to work alongside Matt and Alex again, it was quite a bit of a nostalgic homecoming. So that was a lot of fun. And I'm extremely grateful for that opportunity because I had a little bit of front house experience through the years, but none like hands-on on the floor. And I wouldn't be here. And I don't think Bloom would be as well-rounded as it is if I didn't have that experience.
Well, I completely agree because it's sort of, you hear nightmare stories of, people back of house yelling at front of house or vice versa,
Right, yeah.
Not getting along and lots of
course.
conflict. And so you'd never see that at Bloom. And I know for a fact that that's just not there. It just doesn't exist there because you all communicate and you understand where each other's coming from and you all work hard for the same goal.
We do.
Which is really interesting.
That mutual respect is really important in any workplace, but it definitely can be contentious between the two service team and the culinary team sometimes. But we are very fortunate at Bloom that culture is not part of our ethos.
Yeah.
And we do our best to be progressive and respectful and try to create a healthy work environment that is safe and welcoming for all.
Yeah. And everybody's happy to be there. So
Yeah, what more can you ask for?
Yeah,
To have a
absolutely.
team that believes in it and to really give their best day in and day out.
Yeah. So, and going back to, I remember, again, not to go back to The Bear, but there's a Reddit thread that, you click on it. And so everybody's asking, well, how do I get into the restaurant business? How do I get in the restaurant industry? How do I become a chef? And it's interesting to see people flocking to, again, the romanticizing is a bit about it. But when they're serious about it, I'm hoping that you're seeing some good feedback from people who want to be part of the industry and who want to do what you're doing. And so I'm curious about, for somebody who wants to be an aspiring chef or a restaurateur, what kind of advice you might have for them. What's your best kind of rule of advice?
Yeah, the world of a chef these days is so diverse, from Instagram chefs to celebrity TV chefs to chefs behind the scenes that have been doing it their whole life and no one knows their name. So I think ultimately, I feel like for an aspiring chef or a passionate food individual would be to find out what it is. What is the why? Why do you want to do it? And once you have the why, you can build on how and where and what from there. So if you love the art of food, or you love watching your guests take that first bite and dance a little in their chair, like whatever it is, figure out what that is, and then find the best opportunity that you can put yourself in to try to build that knowledge. And whether that's washing dishes, or whether that's going to culinary school, or whether that's starting a podcast, whatever it is, just figure out the why and then build it from there.
That's good advice. I love that you mentioned the dancing in your seat, because I totally do that.
No better moment than that than watching a guest dance.
I did that 3 times eating your flatbread on Friday. I almost got 3 of those to go, I swear.
Nice. That's great.
Anyway, well, that's awesome advice, and really critical to look into why you want to do it. You mentioned Instagram chefs. What does that mean? I'm curious about this term.
Well, there's there's a lot of passionate individuals out there that love food, and they want to tell the world about it. And so there is now a market to have a media presence and talk about food, whether that's in a home chef setting or a high-end bakery through instructional videos. The different routes are all there for folks. So
yeah, that's interesting. Do you, your social media game is great because you have such beautiful food to produce. It's easy to put your food in a picture. You probably don't need a lot of filters on that,
We try to keep it natural.
Yeah, but you yourself, I know personally, we don't chat on Facebook.
Right. No.
And so I'm curious about how you balance that, because you yourself, you're busy and you're private and you don't want to put all your stuff out there on social media, which God love you. But how do you balance that act of putting your restaurant out there and making sure people know about it when that part of the marketing is pretty critical?
Yeah, social media and marketing, it's a whole nother world. And I applaud professionals that, like yourself and your team, that can do it and balance it all in between.
Balance is a very generous word, Nate.
Well, we're all walking that line, I guess. But honestly, once again, it's kind of finding what's the message you're trying to portray, what's your mission, and trying to connect with the folks that believe in the same concepts and are looking for experience like that. Yeah.
I like to think that you're sort of leaving a little bite on the table for people. Here's the shot. Now you got to come get it.
Right.
That's as much as I'm giving on social media. I'm giving you just enough that now you got to come in and sit down.
I like that. Yeah. Haven't thought about it that way.
In thinking about, you're giving back to the community in Roanoke, you're doing a whole lot. I'm curious about, the rewarding part of sharing these culinary experiences with the community. You're offering them an opportunity of fine dining in a casual setting. It feels like you go, I'm telling you, I've been on Reddit a lot this year, and everybody, when they ask about fine dining in Roanoke thread, they mention Bloom. And it makes me so proud to see it, first of all. But It's so exciting to see that people are paying attention. And so for you to be able to share your inspirations with people, what does that mean to you?
It's incredible. Honestly, word of mouth is what makes Roanoke tick. So to know that there's a positive buzz goes a long way, and it means so much to us. And it just shows that the hard work and the effort and the hours and all the energy that our entire team puts into it is kind of translating. Then there's no greater reward than that, to know that it's working. Yeah.
I hope people tell you that every day, not just once a year, because it's pretty amazing to see people talk about you in all positive ways, and it's just really cool to see you giving back in the way that you do. And they're paying attention. It's not just about your food; it's about your community input and your volunteerism and all those things that make Bloom what it is.
Yeah, there's we want to be as active in the community as much as possible, for sure.
Yeah,
it's up to us all to make it better.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to add or chat about?
I'm just really excited to be here. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time. Honored. Really appreciate it. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the bonus episode. Come back anytime, man. Anytime you want. And
thanks, Les.
Feel free to bring samples next time if you want.
I'll do my best.
Yeah. You can see Bloom's Dining Award wins, Nate's 40 Under 40 inclusion, and so much more coverage of this amazing restaurant over at theroanoker.com. And of course, if you're excited to make your dinner or brunch reservations before I take your seat at the window counter, you can do that over at bloomrke.com.